It was a quiet night on the outskirts of Montgomery, Alabama. The kind of evening where the hum of crickets drowned out the distant hum of traffic. The highway stretched dark and lonely, its asphalt slick from an earlier drizzle. Most folks were tucked away in their homes, but Commander Laura Mitchell, a Navy veteran with 25 years of service, was behind the wheel of her sedan, heading home after a long day. Her fingers tapped lightly to a jazz tune drifting from the radio, her mind already on the warm bed waiting for her. She wore a simple cardigan and slacks, her graying hair pulled into a neat bun. Nothing about her screamed military, just another woman driving home. Until the red and blue lights flashed in her rearview mirror. Laura's stomach tightened, not from fear, but from the bone-deep weariness of knowing what might come next. She signaled, eased her car onto the shoulder, and placed both hands on the wheel, where they could be seen. She'd been through enough drills, enough tense moments overseas, to know the routine. The patrol car parked behind her, and the officer took his time stepping out. His boots scraped the pavement as he approached, one hand on his belt, the other gripping a flashlight that flicked on, blinding her for a moment. The name on his badge glinted, Officer Carl Ramsey. License and registration. Ramsey barked. No pleasantries, no explanation. His voice carried the weight of someone used to being obeyed. Laura met his gaze in the side mirror, her expression calm but steady. "Was I speeding, officer?" she asked, her tone even. Ramsey didn't answer. He took her documents, holding them just out of reach as he scanned her car. "Tail lights out," he said finally, his voice flat. Laura frowned. "That's not right. I had them checked last month." Ramsey's eyes narrowed. "You arguing with me?" The air shifted, a silent challenge hanging between them. Laura had seen this before, men who wore their authority like armor, daring anyone to question it. She'd faced worse in her career, from combat zones to boardrooms. But she also knew her rights. "I'm just saying," she replied, her voice still calm. "If there's an issue, I'll get it fixed." "Step out of the car," Ramsey snapped, cutting her off. Laura exhaled slowly. "Mind telling me why?" Ramsey smirked, tilting his head. "Because I said so." The words hung heavy, a power play wrapped in 3 syllables. Laura unbuckled her seatbelt, her movements deliberate, and stepped onto the pavement. The night air was cool, but the tension was hotter than a summer noon. She stood tall, her posture relaxed but alert, her eyes never leaving Ramsey's. He took a step back, sizing her up, deciding how far he could push. "Turn around. Hands on the car," he ordered. "For what reason?" Laura asked, her voice steady but firm. Ramsey's smirk vanished. "Are you resisting?" He stepped closer, his hand hovering near his radio. Laura held her ground, her pulse quickening, but her face unreadable. "I'm asking a question," she said. Ramsey's jaw tensed. He grabbed his radio. "Got a non-compliant driver here," he muttered, then louder. "Turn around." Laura's mind raced. She knew the stakes: comply and fight later, or push back and risk escalation. She wasn't about to become another headline. With slow, deliberate movements, she turned, placing her hands on the car's cool roof. Ramsey didn't hesitate, yanking her arms behind her back and snapping on cuffs so tight they bit into her wrists. He shoved her toward his patrol car, his chuckle low and smug. "You don't know what you're doing," Laura murmured. "Lady," Ramsey said, pushing her into the back seat. "I know exactly what I'm doing." But he didn't. Not even close. The patrol car's plastic seat dug into Laura's back, the cuffs chafing her skin. Ramsey whistled as he drove, his arrogance filling the cramped space. Laura sat still, her breathing measured, her eyes fixed on the partition's faint reflection. She'd faced worse interrogations in hostile territories, split-second decisions in war zones. This was different, though. This was a man with a badge, drunk on power, convinced he was untouchable. "You know," Ramsey said after a few miles, "most folks just keep quiet when I tell them to step out." Laura exhaled sharply. "And most officers don't arrest people for asking about a traffic stop." Ramsey laughed, shaking his head. "You must think you're somebody." "I don't think," Laura said, her voice low. "I know." His knuckles tightened on the wheel, but he covered his irritation with a smirk. "Military, huh? Bet you thought I'd back off if you flashed that card." Laura stayed silent, letting him ramble. The police station came into view, a gray brick building squatting off the highway. Ramsey pulled into a reserved spot, killed the engine, and turned to her. Gotta say, I love when they make it easy. He led her inside, past a bored desk sergeant, through booking fingerprints, mug shot, the works. The officers barely looked up, their indifference as thick as the smell of stale coffee. Ramsey shoved her toward a holding cell, his grip on her arm unnecessarily tight. Enjoy your stay, he sneered, tapping the bars as they slid shut. Laura sank onto the cell's metal bench, the cold seeping through her slacks. One night. That's all it would take. Because Ramsey had no idea who he'd just crossed. Morning light spilled into the Montgomery courthouse, casting streaks across the polished floors. Laura stood at the defendant's table, her navy blazer crisp, her expression unshaken. No cuffs, no jumpsuit, just a woman who knew her worth. Beside her, her attorney, Susan Harper, flipped through papers with the precision of a surgeon. The courtroom filled slowly, whispers buzzing like static. Ramsey walked in, his shoulders squared, but there was a stiffness in his step, a crack in his usual swagger. He avoided Laura's gaze. Good. Judge Henry Coleman, a grizzled man with tired eyes, took his seat. Let's get to it, he said, glancing at the case file. The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed man named David Wells, stood. Your Honor, we believe Commander Laura Mitchell was unlawfully detained without probable cause. Furthermore, evidence suggests a pattern of misconduct by Officer Carl Ramsey. A murmur rippled through the room. Ramsey shifted, his jaw tight. Judge Coleman peered at him. Officer Ramsey, care to explain? Ramsey leaned forward. Your Honor, the defendant was uncooperative during a routine stop. Uncooperative. Wells held up a document. Commander Mitchell's record shows a distinguished career Naval Academy graduate, multiple commendations, no criminal history. Was she such a threat that you arrested her over a tail light? Ramsey's mouth opened, then shut. Wells pressed on. An internal review shows a disproportionate number of stops involving black drivers in your district. The murmurs grew louder. Ramsey's face reddened. She resisted, he muttered. The body cam says otherwise, Wells countered. Judge Coleman nodded to the bailiff. Play the footage. The screen lowered, and the video rolled Ramsey's barked orders, Laura's calm questions, the unnecessary cuffs. The room fell silent. Judge Coleman leaned forward. Officer Ramsey, you violated protocol, conducted an unlawful arrest, and falsified your report. Charges against Commander Mitchell are dismissed. His gavel struck, sharp and final. I'm ordering an internal investigation into your conduct. Ramsey's face flushed, his fists clenched. Laura exhaled, her composure unbroken. She'd never doubted the outcome. Ramsey stormed out, his boots echoing down the hall. Eyes followed him, officers, reporters, court staff. He wasn't used to this, the weight of scrutiny. In a private office, Chief Walter Grayson, a 30-year veteran, waited, his expression grim. What the hell were you thinking? He demanded. I was doing my job, Ramsey snapped. Your job? Grayson tossed a file onto the desk. The footage, your arrest history, it's a mess. You didn't even know who she was. What's that got to do with it? Ramsey shot back. Everything. She's a Navy commander. The DA's reviewing your cases. You're suspended, effective now. Internal Affairs is digging, and if they find what I think, you're done. Ramsey's world unraveled, his arrogance crumbling like dry clay. For the first time, he wasn't untouchable. Across town, Laura sat in a cozy diner, sipping coffee and scrolling through her phone. The story had gone viral. Commander wrongfully arrested, officer suspended. She wasn't surprised. She'd known from the moment she stepped out of her car how this would end. Her phone buzzed. Susan, her attorney. Ramsey's facing charges. You okay? I'm fine, Laura said, glancing out the window. The fight wasn't over. Not for her, not for the countless others Ramsey had likely targeted. But today she'd won. Later, her captain called. The Department of Defense wants you to speak on this. The mayor's office, Tuthiri, talking about an award for your professionalism. Laura smirked. I'll think about it. She hung up, watching a young boy laugh with his mother across the street. She'd fought for herself, yes, but also for him, for every kid who deserved a world where badges weren't weapons. Laura stepped outside, the afternoon air sharp and clean. Her steps were firm, her purpose clear. This wasn't just her fight. It never had been. Power, unchecked, breeds abuse. Laura's story is a reminder that change starts with courage to question, to stand firm, to demand accountability. Ramsey learned that the hard way. But for every Laura, there are others who don't have her rank, her voice, or her evidence. Their stories matter, too. What do you think? Have you seen injustice like this in your own life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's talk about power, accountability, and what it takes to fight back. Your voice matters.